All right, I think we're live. So Yang Yanjiao here, Clint Stoker, the man, coming off his victory lap, his defeat
That's right.
of the horrible. Sorry, hang on. I'm such a noob.
Like
I gotta-
second campaign.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry, had to turn off the audio on a. I had another window open just to make sure this is going through.
Oh,
Sorry. So first campaign, success. Second campaign, DOWNCAST, Wrize Fall, and the first comic skater, I believe, in the US to get a deal with a publisher.
yeah. At least I think so. But yes,
Oh,
it's a big deal. Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to.
I think it's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to being an official. I mean, I guess right now I am an official alternate creator, but it'll feel like more official when the book's actually out, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, this is a big moment, certainly for people who want to get in the business, the small independent creator, the man with a dream that we can see. It is possible to achieve the Herculean track. And so what would you say is like the best thing to come out of all of this?
That's a really good question. It feels like it's definitely the long game. And I've heard your boy Zach say this often. And I don't know, I've taken it to heart. I've found that it's really helpful to watch what other successful creators are doing and sort of study it and pay attention and then apply what I think I can apply. And so it's one of those things, is playing the long game. For me, and I've said this from the beginning, my goal was to do comics, and break into the industry. That's always the terminology I'd use. Self-publishing a book is amazing. Doing a crowdfunder is amazing for a book. But I want more. Like, it still feels like the iron is hot. And so I want to see
definitely
as much as I can build, you know what I mean? Of a career in comics. That's what I'm going to do. So I think that the alternative deal is important for a few different reasons. But yeah, there's still a long way to go, I feel like, in my master plan.
So I know from watching your streams, you have a couple jobs in the real world. Is this something that you would like to do full time, sort of phase those other ones out?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's doable, I've been trying, and that's, again, like, I'm trying to figure out how would I make that doable. It's tough. But what I'd love to do, like, I'm just sort of dreaming here, I'd love to quit my full-time job and make doing the whole comics and YouTube my full-time job, and then I still have that part-time business that could supplement things. I would love that. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to stop comics anytime soon. So I might even just like sell the other part-time business if it came down to it. I think this year is going to determine a lot. I've got some big plans for this year, and I don't know. I'll see how far I can push it. I'll know a lot by the time it's October, I think, if it's going to be doable for me or not.
Yeah. So, like, how many of these projects do you think you could handle at one time? So I'm not asking you to give away any secret skunk works, but
yeah,
I know you've got a few things going. Like, are you the kind of guy who could juggle like 4 or 5 books at a time? Or are you more like, no, I got to concentrate on this one thing first?
Yeah. That's a good question. When I'm working full-time and then, part-time job plus this, it's really hard to find time to write enough, really, to get enough projects done. But it depends. So if I have to be the publisher too, that's a massive amount of work. And I don't think people appreciate how much work it is. Like, writing a comic, it can be a lot of work, but it's nothing in compared to promoting that book and running a campaign and fulfilling the campaign, like all those other things that a publisher would do, that takes up the lion's share of the work for a writer. If you're an artist, you've got a whole other set of responsibilities. They're going to take you a lot. But so if I'm doing my own crowdfunding campaigns, I'm the publisher. I think I've talked to an artist. Well, I've talked to Charlie Snogan. This has been public. Yeah,
I'm jealous.
He's so good, man. Yeah, I was just talking to him earlier before I got on the stream. But he's amazing. But I asked him, like, if you were doing this full time, how many 48-page books could you do per year? And he said maybe 4 of those. So that'd be like 6 regular issues a year. And so I said, okay, so let's say if we did 3 48-page books a year, then we'd have to make X amount of money for both of us to live off of. Anyway, so it was like trying to crunch the numbers and everything was interesting. So we'll see. I think the nice thing is with Downcast, Wrize Fall, it's like this is sustainable for me. Like it has shown growth, been able to retain readers. With Charlie's art, it's bound to do. I mean, he's just spectacular. It's bound to sell even better. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm really curious as to how far this one is going to go. I think the Downcast one, you ended at about 30,000, 32,000.
Yeah. So the initial campaign ended at 26,000 something. And then after the in-demand period, it ended at 31.6, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And how long was it in demand?
A while. It went from, let's see, I think I launched the campaign in April, and then I closed the campaign at the beginning of October. So, we're talking 6 months or something. Yeah. So this one, the plan is for it to be open not as long, because I would like to get the book finished. We got a head start on the artwork and everything. So we should get finished sooner. I don't want to make any huge promises. But so it'll be open a less amount of time. Having said that, I still think this campaign is on track to beat the first one within, I think we can beat 31,000 within the initial campaign period. And then with the in-demand, my best guess, and I'm trying to be kind of conservative here, I think that we'll probably land somewhere around 40,000 to 43,000. That would be my guess.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it would. So again, we'll see. There's a lot of factors, but it helps. It helps having done the first campaign, because I can compare the numbers and kind of guess.
What were the big lessons learned from that one? Like, was there anything you were like, oh man, I never ever do that again? Or like, oh, okay, with Wrize, I got to make sure to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So a big one was on the first campaign, I didn't have enough ways for people to back at a higher tier. It seemed like everything I had at a higher tier was limited, so it would run out. So that was a big one. The other thing is that $15 for like the quality of book that I was putting out, the print quality and everything, the cost for that book,
probably a little low, huh?
It was low, yeah, and it was cutting it. Like everything was fine, but I basically used up all my expenses. all the money that I had just to make the thing work. I did have some left over. We used that to invest into Wrize Fall. So, it was fine. It was a learning experience, but I came out of it on top, but it was tough. So that's why with the base book on this one's $20, it was easier just to add more content to the pages. And part of that, I don't know if you want to get into this or not, but
sure.
The Alterna deal, like I've been criticized. No, most people have been very, very positive about it. Overwhelming positive response. But I have had like a few people being critical of it, because why announce an Alterna deal when you've got less expensive newsprint comics and then you're selling a $20 book at the same time? And I believe, and now I'm sure I'm right, that they're completely different markets.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. I didn't get a single refund. Nobody refunded it. The campaign progress went on as expected. You know, it always slows down in the middle of the campaign. So like I'm pretty confident it affected my sales, like not at all. It didn't matter. So yeah, I don't know. I've been really happy with how it went. It was a little bit of a risk, I guess, but
I don't know. I think it's definitely the right call. Because even things like if you looked at iPods back in the day, right? They had those little ones with no screen that just had like a forward and back. And then you had your super deluxe ones where you could watch TV shows and stuff. And they're very different markets. This is something I had been thinking about myself in the future. So I'm definitely interested to see how this works for you. But, and it seems like you did it the right way. I've seen some people like really not offer much of a difference between a high and a low tier, but with Wrize Fall, you have that really, really nice looking, the secret history of strata.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like people who are big fans, people who are really into the story and they want to know more, they're absolutely going to pay more for a higher quality. Well, I don't even like to say higher quality paper, for glossy paper, and then for all this additional material.
Yeah, the book's more expensive. Like just, you know, like it's undeniable. It was more money was spent on the production of it. It's something you can put on a bookshelf. It's going to be a lot longer. You know, this is not a 22-page issue. This is a 88-page graphic novel. But the secret history of strata, you can kind of see like I'll just explain the whole strategy with the second one. It was different than the first. I learned some things, but we also had the alternate announcement. And the other thing too is like once you have a publishing deal, you have to abide by a schedule, you know, like you got to get into submissions. You got to make sure your book's in diamond. You got the covers and like all that kind of stuff. The book has to be finished. And so I didn't really have the luxury of picking times and dates like I would like to. That's one of the reasons I launched in January. One of the reasons that the announcement went down into the campaign. And so one of my concerns was, why buy this version of the book and not newsprint? And so the Secret History of Strata is, it was intended to be that, like, it's for people that really want everything. So that won't be published through Alterna. That's just here in this book. And people that are into the story, they're going to be really happy then with the book. And if you want to go get newsprint too, that's cool. Like, I support that too. If you want to get the newsprint books rather than this, I just I don't know. Indiegogo is not generally a place that you go to get a good deal on comics. You're going there because you're passionate about the comic.
That, and plus I think there's a bit of so back in the day when comics were everywhere, you could thumb through one while you're waiting to check out at the grocery store. Same thing with comic book stores. And the thing is, when you see one, a smaller newsprint one in a comic book store for, I'm not quite sure what the price point's going to be on it, but let's say it's one of the more expensive $2 Alterna comics. What's $2? That's like half a coffee at Starbucks. There's been many times when I bought Alterna specific books because they were so cheap, and it's like, I don't even know if I like it or not. I'll just drop a couple bucks on it. No big deal. And it seems like, insofar as, YouTube being a personality, having a constant show and having things on Indiegogo, like, it can only get you so far. There needs to be other ways to market in order to grow your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And like, part of that is being honest with yourself, with your strengths and weaknesses. And like, I'm not, and by the way, thank you, Draw and Talk. I appreciate the support about the publishing decision. But yeah, I'll say I'm not like a super great YouTuber. This doesn't really come natural to me. It took me a lot of practice just to get to this point, which I feel like I should be better by now. And that, that's just part of the deal. Those are my particular set of limitations. But the good news is, if you want to write comics, you don't have to be a good radio host. Like, I think probably most comic book writers are not good radio hosts, you know?
No, not so much.
Yeah, like they don't really go together. If you can, like, that's great. But yeah, I mean, my channel, it gets, for what I'm doing, I think it gets good views. I'm pretty happy with it. I'd love for it to be bigger, obviously. But I've got to be thinking about how to grow and expand, because I'm very serious about making a career out of writing comics. So to me, any way I can get build an audience and get more credibility, having a publisher will help me do that. The crowdfunding campaigns absolutely help me do that. And I've got this book with Charlie Snogan coming up that's going to be, I think, huge. And that'll really test how far I can push the crowdfunding with the audience that I have. But beyond that, like, I'm still going to be looking to build my resume. If I had an opportunity to write a book for a lot of little indie publishers, or just like a freelance thing, I would probably take it, depending on what it is. Again, it's just building my resume.
Yeah, I think to an extent that's what everybody has to do. And I'm really glad that you stuck with Downcast. I know that anytime anyone enters a new area and it's the first time out, it's very nerve-wracking. You don't know how it's going to end up. But I'm glad you stuck with it, because it seems like you have a lot of fans now. And it can only go up from here.
Yeah, and I got a lot of, I don't know, like I'm really more keyed into it because I guess they're responding to me, but I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of feedback from backers. And again, like, far and wide, most people were really happy with the first book. When I said, I think it's in the campaign video, which I did a terrible job on making, I'll admit that.
Nah.
But like I said, like, oh, this is the final installment of the story. And I had some people reach out to me and they were like, please don't make it the final. Like, what if we like it and we want more? And so, of course, if you like it and you want more, there's a lot I could do in this world. I'd be totally open to doing it. But I'm not going to leave it on a cliffhanger, I guess, is the only point I was trying to make.
Okay.
So, but yeah, like, again, like, if people want it, if they enjoy it, I've got tons of ideas for Downcast,
Now, is this with the same with Joe and Jax, or you like all throughout the because you have the secret history of Strata now?
Yeah.
Do you have stories at like other points in history?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'd love to. There's a couple different routes I could go. I would love to continue Joanne and Jack's story, because I feel I don't want to give spoilers away, but certain events will unfold and it'll sort of reset it to a different kind of status quo that you could work in. That would be fun. On the other hand, like the Secret History Strata, I've got some really interesting villains, in the history of things that are going on. There are a ton of different timelines I could explore. So there could be a few ways I would do that. I think if I did another Downcast book, I would do, again, like a graphic novel with more pages, and I'd probably do backup stories. So I would probably continue the story of Joanne and Jax, and at the same time do a backup story of something in the past that happened with different characters, or do like a side story with just Jax or just Joanne. There's a ton that I can do to just sort of fill out a graphic novel and give you more content. But yeah, I think if I had to choose, I'd probably continue their story first off, and I don't know, I would just have to see how far it went. But there's, I think, some cool stuff from the history that would make good stories.
Very cool. So sort of like how Zach is doing his Jawbreakers.
Yeah, and I think he's smart. He knows what he's doing. With how he builds those graphic novels together. So yeah, I'd probably go along those lines. Problem is, it just takes a ton of money for all those artists. Do a big thick graphic novel and do it in like a timely manner. So you're not doing just one book a year. So I don't know. It'll take a little while and probably a lot of money to get to that point.
Sure, but the nice thing is you can always reprint the material you already had.
Yeah, I could do and with alternate, it does change things a little bit. The nice thing is that he's not doing graphic novels anymore unless they're crowdfunded.
Right.
I probably have to talk to him a little bit on the specifics, because it's interesting, because Downcast kind of has two publishers. So I obviously have the rights to do these graphic novels. They will not have an Alterna logo on them. They're just published under Clint Stoker Publishing LLC, basically. So I guess Sweetcast is also my do business as name. So yeah, so if I wanted to combine both books on Downcast, I think, why not? And including the Secret History of Strata, I've got rights to publish that, so I could do a combined book down the road for sure. That would be nice, actually, because it would just be a matter of pre-press and then printing, and there's potential for more profit there, and then that could roll over into paying for the next campaign. But we'll see. It depends on how fast all these books sell out. I still have several copies of the first book, and we just want to follow demand.
Well, hopefully some people are going to see this stream. I know it's definitely going to beat all the other streams tonight, but people should pick it up, get both copies. Now, I got to say, it's only about 11 and a half more months till Christmas, but this is a great gift especially for younger people who don't really know much about comics, who are maybe interested, especially in sci-fi stories. This is a great gift. Get it now. It should be delivered by Christmas, right?
Oh yeah. I'm hoping to have it delivered around the 4th of July. But
wait, that soon? Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. Christmas in July then.
Right. Yeah. We'll see. But yeah, and this is a nice thing too. Like, a lot of comics are very adult. This one's teen, but like my 8-year-old read it, and he enjoyed it. I think there were probably a few words that he wasn't very familiar with, but I would say, if you got older kids even, and I think it's a good gateway into comics, because it's
definitely,
it's just like a fresh story. There's, YA. I know that's become kind of a naughty word, but I don't know why. But yeah, it's, it's just like a YA book, essentially, that's in comic book format. It's a new story, sci-fi, and you got teenagers in there and family, and yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I remember last time you were on, you were talking about how YA is sort of your genre of choice, if you can call YA a genre. Is that sort of the realm that you want to stay in for your future books?
I mean, I have more ideas. I've got another idea I want to get to. I don't know when I'm going to get to it. The book with Charlie Snogans is going to be it'll be a straightforward sci-fi space adventure kind of thing. And so not, I wouldn't consider that YA. But yeah, I've got others I'd love to do. I used to think I'd never want to do superhero comics, but kind of the more I've been thinking about it, I'm like, I could do a superhero comic, I guess. I wouldn't want to do something that's derivative of something else,
I think it's tough, because one of the things that's really struck me about the whole Comicsgate movement. So I guess 2018 is when people really started putting out books. How many of them are superhero books? The only one I can think of is Red Rooster. Mail-in stuff is kind of monsters.
True.
Monsters are big, but all these people who came from a history of doing superheroes, and a lot of people who are criticizing Marvel and DC, like nobody's doing superheroes.
Yeah,
there's a couple, I think, but
yeah, it's almost like Jawbreakers. Like, I guess you could say they're superheroes. They have superpowers, but I don't really picture it as a superhero book. Like, it is different. It's like a military book almost.
To me, it's closer to G.I. Joe. And just in my opinion, the parts of Jawbreakers that really shine are the parts that are closer to G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I agree. It's like G.I. Joe, Cyber Frog. I mean, maybe to me, it's, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I never think of them as superheroes.
No.
I mean, they're, they're vigilantes, crime fighters. But even him, he's not I guess he's a vigilante, but Blood Honey was more, I don't know, intergalactic. What would you call that? I don't know. It's a little different, you know.
Sci-fi for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And there's apocalypse going on, and so yeah, I like that. I don't know. I just feel like there's so many superheroes that I don't know that I could really come up with one that's that
Mm-hmm.
notable and different that it matters. So yeah, I'd love to do, like, I've got this idea. The tentative title is Coma Monk, and it would be about essentially it's like the place between life and death. And if you're in a coma, you're in this place,
Uh-huh.
and you can kind of just imagine things, and they will be. And so it would be about like a group of kids they were kids, they're in comas in a hospital somewhere, and this is them, living life in this sort of mid ground, and they learn to like master themselves and master the environment. And so hence they live in a monastery with this dude who's dead, that teaches them how to handle things. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff I could do in that world. It'd be really fun. I would consider that probably YA, like the angle
Uh-huh.
I'm looking at it in. But yeah, I don't know when that is going to happen, if at all. So we'll see.
So, out of curiosity, since talking about superheroes, what's your definition of a hero?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, to me, a hero is anybody that basically puts the needs of somebody else over themselves. So I mean, that's pretty broad, but it's almost like it when you see it. Like, do you ever do? I do this thing where I'll like get sucked into YouTube videos and I'll watch like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's just like get into the weirdest things. But like, it's actually last night or 2 nights ago, I was watching videos of dogs saving humans,
Uh-huh.
like saving their owners. And I found myself starting to get choked up just watching these like little video compilations. I just think it's just, but there's something about like it's like the heroism, you know what I mean? You connect
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
So yeah, it's like I want to get that in my stories,
Definitely. That's an interesting definition. I've kind of come up with a slightly different one the older I get,
Yeah.
as a guy in his 40s. And I think a hero is someone who affects you in such a way that you feel it necessary to change something about yourself.
Okay.
So, for example, kids, they like, LeBron James. Okay, he's still around. So, they want to play ball like him, and maybe they'll try to, shoot like him, or maybe they'll get some kind of work ethic. But I think, it gets harder as you get to be an adult, because, there are a lot of people that you look up to, that you respect, but hero, I mean, how many people would you see that you're like, oh, I got to be like that guy?
I think you're right. Not as many as when I was younger.
Mhm.
You see people through a different set of eyes, I guess.
Yeah, I think being a grown up, quote unquote, that there's really only two people that I would consider a hero, and I'm just wondering, who do you consider a hero?
That's a good question. Like a real living person you're talking.
Well, it could be living, could be historical, or maybe even fantastical.
Yeah.
Like someone in writing or in a movie, and you're like, holy cripes, that's right. I gotta be
Yeah.
more like that.
Yeah. Well, like initially I think of my mom,
Mhm.
just her life, and just some of the specifics and the stuff that she does, and is very selfless. And so yeah, I definitely think of her as one of my heroes. Um, Man, I should have thought about this a little bit. Yeah, it's tough because you get to know people, and then
Mhm.
you get to know that they're just people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess that can kind of make them more interesting heroes because they're overcoming the normalcy, to do
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
great. I'm trying to think of a fictional character. I mean, I've always loved Spider-Man, for a lot of reasons. But again, like I think it comes down to like putting somebody else's needs above his own. To me, I picture him as he's willing to work a terrible job and like whatever
Mhm.
situation he gets thrown into because he's putting his need to help others ahead, of his own well-being and his own progress in life, which sounds like terrible. Like it's not a good way to be an adult. But
Yeah. 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 His life was pretty rough until the Mary Jane years.
yeah, yeah. Well, and then he's been a CEO and he's done a lot of stuff. So
Man, I can't even. I can't even think of the stuff he does recently. My mind just won't allow me to absorb that information. It's like when your body rejects a toxin, and it tries to drive it out. That's how I feel about like the last. Well, I got to say there's been a lot of stuff in Marvel that I haven't liked for quite a long time, but especially in the last 5 years, it's like, oh, really?
yeah, yeah. I haven't read very much Marvel at all. Actually, I did pick up Thor #1 because I just got it today. A lot of
Nice.
people were saying you got to read it because the writing in it is excellent. And so, yeah, like I'm going to give it a shot and read it and see what I can learn from it. But I don't know if that I'm going to continue to follow the series or anything like that. But
Yeah, I don't know. I saw some previews of it, and the art in there just drove me nuts.
oh,
Like there was one page where there were 4 like long panels, and it looked like it was photocopied. Like Thor was in exactly the same place with just
wow,
different word bubbles, and it was like, is this a Garfield cartoon? What's going on?
I got to look at it now.
Now
Yeah,
maybe it was the wrong book, but I'm pretty sure it was Thor 1.
huh? Yeah. Well, who even did the art on this thing? Trying to see. Um, it's on the front. I have a variant cover. Like they did so many variants of this thing that I'm not even sure who did. It's not in the title page either. Maybe it's in the back. I don't know. It's funny they had this same variant cover,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just the line art version, exact same cover, line art, and it was $25. And then we kind of go back full circle. People are like, "Why would you pay extra money for a graphic novel when you could buy it in newsprint?" I'm like, "Well, why would you buy any comic at any price?" Yeah, I think this art's fine. I guess there's not a lot of background going on though. It's just a lot of heads.
Yeah, that's another. I don't know. It's very weird to me having grown up with comics in the 80s, and especially when you hit that period of the very late 80s where all those image guys were working.
Yeah.
You just go back and you look and it's so dynamic. I mean, even someone like a Rob Liefeld, who I didn't like him then and I don't like him now, but
Yeah.
his books look so much better than 90% of the stuff you see today.
I wonder how much of it has to do with standardization. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
remember it used to be like the Marvel way, like the
Right.
draw comics the Marvel way. I like that there's freedom. Like part of me loves that. There's just a lot of variety in comics now. But on the same note, it's kind of like there's also no quality control, or there's like much less quality control because sometimes you get
Oh,
where
I'd say
it's like,
zero.
yeah, you're like, what is this? I don't.
I,
How did
I
that get
mean,
passed?
I'm not even sure if the editors know that they can tell the artists like, hey, that's not cool. You got to redo it. Like
Yeah.
I kind of wonder too. There was one instance a couple of years ago where somebody was working on Superman and he got told like, oh, put the arm in like a different position or something, and he went on Twitter and complained about it. And it's
Oh,
like, man, I appreciate that. Of course, you think when you do work, you always think you're doing it to the best you can, but ultimately it's not your book unless you are also the editor. So you kind of have to go with what their vision is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I do gotta wonder too. When Sean Gordon Murphy, I don't know if you saw any of that, but when he says that there's a problem with editorial and comics,
Yeah.
he probably knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean? He's like one of the biggest fish in comics today. I know people pushed back against that a lot, but yeah, I mean, editorial.
Well, yeah,
There's something to it.
Of course they're going to push back because, they know that they're doing a terrible job, and B, they know that theoretically they could be out on their ears at any time. Now,
Right.
I don't see that happening, but if you're in any sort of a corporate situation, the whoever shouldn't be there, they don't have the skills, they don't have the temperament, those are the people that will complain the loudest about criticism. Everyone else would be like, oh, okay, let me fix that.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, there's I don't know. And the people running to say, you'd think like if you're a good editor, you don't need to go tell everyone you're a good editor. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
kind of it should come with the territory. I did find the credits page, by the way. It's like right slap in the middle of the book. So the artist is Nick Klein, and then Matthew Wilson is the colorist. So there we go. And then the cover was Oliver Coppel. See, I feel like I'm out of it because I don't even know who any of them are.
Yeah, I don't either. So Draw and Talk said he's pretty sure it was done traditionally. So, all right, maybe I'm going to have to go check that out. I have to, one of these days I have to try to go back to my local comic book store, but it's just been very frustrating here.
Yeah. Like I went today, but that's I don't go every week. It's like I probably go once a month, and usually I'm just looking around to see what is there. You know what I mean? Like I don't generally have something I'm specifically going there for, because if I do, they don't have it like ever. So I don't know. I just try to browse and see what they have. But most of the time, it's not anything I'm super interested in. Like I just need a reason. Like that's what I want, is give me a reason to want to buy something.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, I'm really not very interested in what Marvel and DC had. I stuck around, or I came back, I should say, for the Hoxpox X-Men series this summer. Ugh, terrible.
Really?
Maybe Gateway into Comics on Twitter. Yeah, like he really likes it, and I think that's great for him. But man, I've had a video that I haven't completed since like October. My theory of that whole thing is it's a honey trap. It's meant to look all sexy with the characters you like, with designs that you like, and they're talking about themes that you like, but they absolutely do not commit to using any of those things. And it's really just a continuation of everything we've had. The mutants are all complete racists and bigots because they hate normal people.
Yeah.
And you have more telepathic manipulation with Xavier and Emma Frost, like manipulating governmental officials and judges and stuff. And so it's like, how can I look up to any of these? Talking about heroes, like, ooh, that's pretty skeevy. And then even worse is they have this immortality thing pretty much now, where it's like, well, nothing they do really matters. If they're going to sacrifice themselves on a mission or something, it really has a lot of emotional context. You're like, no, I don't want Nightcrawler to die. But then, like, he's back next issue. So is it anything more than like going out to pick up milk at the store? I don't know.
Yeah. I haven't even read it. I don't know. I heard good things about it, but I've also heard people that really did not like it. And those opinions came out a little bit later, it seems like. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm I don't know. Like I want to see something new.
Yeah, me too. So let's see. Draw and Talk says, work at a book publishing company, and it's the same thing. All the authors who have great books and make money are quiet, while the crappy writers are the ones always complaining.
I really need to talk to Draw and Talk. We gotta, especially about this. I forgot. Well, he mentioned he worked for a publisher. That would be interesting to pick your brain. That would be. I'm sure you have lots of stories.
Yeah, definitely. I would watch that stream.
It'd be fun. Yeah. Yeah, we were trying to get something going in the fall, and it just seemed like it never worked out. So we still haven't streamed. It's been months.
So going back to the hero thing. So now that you are at least Comicsgate super famous, you're up there in the rock star leagues. Do you ever get weirded out that people like seem to treat you that way, or like you get so much praise, or not that it's undeserved, but
no, I mean, I get a lot of hate too. So it's almost,
it balances out.
Yeah. It's almost like, I don't know. It's weird. The weird thing is it's like the internet is such a strange place because you're so isolated in this relatively really small group of fandom,
Mm-hmm.
And so I go to my comic shop and I always have in my mind, like, what if there's somebody here that watches my videos? If they have, they've never said anything. So it's been like pleasant, but people are talking about doing that big,
the convention,
Comicsgate convention. And that kind of scares me a little bit. I think it would be fun in theory. And then I think like, oh, is everybody like, you know what I mean? Like if even if like, 30% of the people there know who I am, that's kind of weird, Yeah.
But so it then does even though you're not anonymous on the internet, is the distance of the internet, is that kind of like a safety blanket?
Yeah, you can unplug. Yeah, and most of the time, like most people are positive, and I think they know like none of us are celebrities. You know what I mean? Like we're just regular people.
Yeah.
But so they're cool. It's like you get the few. It's really just like 2 or 3 people that hate me and obsess over me, and that's weird. That's really off-putting because I don't have people in my real life. I'm sure you don't either. That just hate you. It's so weird.
I do have one lady at work, but
really, but you have to work with her, right?
Like unfortunately.
Yeah. You got to find a way to like survive, but like on the internet, it's like they'll hate and they obsess or like make video after video after video, or talk about on Twitter constantly. And so I've been it's been a learning curve for me the past, I would say 3 months, and that has been just mute people. Don't even block them because then that gives them something to talk about. So I just mute people, and it gets better. Like I don't need to answer to weirdness. That's all I can do.
And it's amazing how fast they come too, because even on this channel, which nobody ever watches, like I make videos, and so I do D&D videos, and man, I had one guy who was just like, so one of my strategies is to intentionally say something wrong in every video. So then someone will leave a comment and YouTube will then register that as engagement. So, but it's always like something small. So I had this one video where I said like, oh, this spell, it goes 120 feet. But I figured some nerd would be like, actually, Angel, that goes 90 feet, not 120. But some guy who was leaving comments like, who the F are you? Do you read the effing manual? Why the F do you think you can make videos about Dungeons and Dragons? It's like, seriously, dude?
Yeah.
And it's funny because in some ways he was my best fan because he would post in every video.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't mod people who disagree with me, but like when you're swearing at me, and then he would swear at other people who are like, oh, that's a small mistake or something. I was like, okay, you got to go now.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like there's just one, like I used
Uh,
to have this guy that would watch every single video and tell me I'm not even making this up. I'm a Nazi, I'm a bigot, like that kind of stuff. And I just thought, like, I didn't know if he was a troll, like if he was, really just watching, he just enjoyed the videos. I mean, because he's dedicated, he'll watch like every video, but I haven't heard from him in an awfully long time. So my comment section actually has gotten really kind, I would say. I mean, people will disagree, but in really kind ways. So I don't know, for what it's worth, that's nice.
mhm.
Twitter has just gotten more and more hostile. So I can't.
Twitter, I don't understand anything that's going on Twitter. Uh,
Yeah,
um, and the other question to me is why? Like in different sides of all the nonsense, like if you find the need to swear at people, maybe you just need to take the day off Twitter.
yeah,
Like, hey, you could say, hey, I don't agree with this thing or that thing, but like, man, if it's eating you inside, like
yeah.
that's not good.
Yeah, and then it's like you'll see people. Everyone's gonna remain anonymous here, but you'll see people, and there are a lot of people that do this. But they have their enemy on Twitter or
Mhm.
enemies, and they just like every day, several times a day, posting. What's the latest sin of this enemy? And it's just constant. And I think like I know like I've got a few people those crazy people that hate me
Mhm.
and you try to like reason or counter the arguments, there's none to have because they don't
Yeah,
they're always going to find something to be unhappy with. So it just gets tiring, so you just have to ignore them, like that's all you can do. But then I see people that just relentless, like I think you're past 6 months, year, whatever you've been doing this has got to be miserable because that's all you think about.
exactly. Well, I mean, I guess some people don't have anything else going on in their lives, but
I guess so.
but
It's entertainment for some people, I guess.
some people just like to watch things burn, I guess.
That too. Yeah.
So, of the non-crazy criticisms that you've gotten on your books, what would you say is the most useful?
Yeah, the review time, it's kind of interesting because it goes in phases
Mhm.
of like you release the book and you're all worried about it getting their shipping time, and then right after that people are getting their books and you hear the reaction about the printing, like the printing quality, and then shortly after then you go into like review season, and so you got to put on a totally different hat. Usually and like I've had this experience a little bit with my novels as well, but you get the good reviews first. The positive reviews, you'll start seeing those pop up. And I think generally it might have to do with the fact that there are people that are eager to read the book. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
they're reading it. So you get positive reviews first, and then you start to get the negative reviews coming in. So it's tough because yeah, like some of it, like you're getting a negative review because this person doesn't like me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like there's a
Yeah,
specific reason. And then other times it's like, okay, I don't know this person whatsoever. They seem, like a reasonable person. And I don't know. So you have to take that into account. But yes, I've heard like a lot of things. Character development is always huge. It always seems like there's more that you can do there.
Mhm.
People gave me feedback about the characterization of Jackson in particular. And part of that is like I have a arc planned for him, you know what I mean, for the rest of the book, and you kind of have to set things up, or this next book. So that's important. But yeah, so some of those things were good. Another one was like I should have added more about the father as to why he was so important to them, and that was
Mhm.
really good feedback. uh yeah, really good feedback because that drives the story. It makes you care about what their goal is, to get their father out of prison. So that was really good feedback. I got lots of feedback on the art. That's it's difficult because I hear what they're saying. I got to pass it on to the artist,
Yeah.
and it's sort of a negotiation there. You know what I mean? Like how that'll
Yeah.
work out.
I thought, I don't know. Well, obviously, yeah, I know that you watch my review day in and day out, and you've downloaded a copy in case your internet goes out. But I think that some of the people were a little bit overly harsh. One of the things that I had said is Nacho is very much like a Mike Mignola kind of artist, where he's got a very distinctive style, and you know, it's either kind of a like you like it or you hate it kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Mike Mignola was one of the people. Like, to me, it's like a combination of Mike Mignola and somebody else I can't quite put my finger on. But when you see the so Nacho's teacher is a professional comic book artist, his mentor, and his name is Marcelo. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get his last name wrong. But I know he did some of the Kick-Ass series. I've got to look him up. But when you see his mentor's work, it makes sense. You know what I mean? You see, okay, this is where it's coming from. That's gonna drive me crazy. Marcelo. Sorry, I know this is great radio.
No, that's all right. No, but I know what you mean. So I have like a design background from years and years ago, and I wanted to draw comics, and my hero was always Mark Silvestri. And one of the criticisms I always had, like back in the 80s and 90s, is like, all your women's faces look alike. And I was like, oh. And then I didn't realize until just a couple of years ago, that was one of the criticisms of Mark Silvestri, is that all of his women's faces look alike. And it's like, oh, well, that's why I was doing that. You know, when you're copying someone, you copy their idiosyncrasies as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that's kind of how style works anyway. His name is Marcelo Frusin.
Okay.
Frusin, and he's on Image here. He's got credits for Image Comics, doing Kick-Ass with Steve Niles. And yeah, I mean, to me it makes sense. I guess I could probably share my screen here. I'm not used to sharing it when I'm not the one doing it, but I'll share it there if you pop it in.
Okay. Oh, hey. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So if I look at some of his work, it looks like he's done. Well, yeah. So there you go. Here's his credit. This is Kick-Ass right here. But you can see the lines, the scratchy lines, the way he draws eyes, those kinds of things. This is very much like, you can see Nacho's influence that's you know, going on here. Even here, like lips and faces, like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, to me, I'm a big fan of Nacho's artwork. I would not have chosen him as the artist if I wasn't. And I was really picky with a lot of the artists. Like, I ran through a lot of things. Ultimately, his portfolio just really stood out to me as like, you know, I dug it. It was good stuff. So I'm happy to have him be working on the next half of Downcast. It to me, it only makes sense to have him do it versus, you know, getting another artist or something. But again, like it's easy to hear because so many people are like, yeah, I really enjoyed this, solid art, solid storytelling, solid printing job. But then you have like the minority of people that have major problems with it, and you have the tendency to listen to them and they overrule everything. You know, at least that's how it is for me. You want to make everyone happy.
Yeah, of course.
But you can't. So
I don't know.
Pick and choose.
I did think some of the criticisms were a bit unfounded. Like there was no imagery in the book that stuck with you. I would disagree with that. I think certainly the one where the guy's head goes through the glass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty iconic. That, you know, when I think of the first Downcast, like that pops into my mind right away.
Yeah. I agree. I thought that was a good image. I thought the scene with the piranhas at the end, toward the end of the book, I thought that was great. He did a really good job of capturing the mood there. I was shocked when like some people said they didn't like the colors. I was shocked because I loved the colors. Now the print, how they, you know, when you're working with a new printer, you got to adjust the colors a little bit.
Yeah.
The colors were a little bit too saturated, I would say. But I mean, we are all, and Damien Penalba is the colorist. We were on the same page about that. Like, but it's the first time you're using the printer, so you got to kind of get it calibrated correctly. Yeah.
Are you going to change any of the colors for the Alterna prints? Because one thing, well, I mean, I've said it to Peter as well, but one of the things that I've noticed about Alterna is people are doing their own graphic novels, and then they become the Alterna books on newsprint.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the colors just kind of don't work, because the way to, especially more modern styles of coloring, mm-hmm. in like nice glossy paper, the heavyweight, they just look kind of muddy in newsprint.
Yeah. I know the color profile has to change because of the printing process. I'll admit, though, I'm not enough of an expert on what would need to change for it to look at its best in newsprint. But I do know, like Peter and I have had this conversation, that the colors have to change a little bit. And I think it's that they need to become more saturated, if I remember correctly, something like that. And so, we'll have to work that out for how it's going to go with newsprint. But yeah, you're right, though. It is different for sure. And part of that's the paper, and part of that's the printing process, I guess.
So we're getting close to an hour. I was just wondering, whose projects are you really looking forward to?
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot. One that I really want to get is that Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. I love Ninja Turtles. I thought it was just it was kind of different, kind of fun, and it just made me think of the Ninja Turtles and being a kid and stuff. So I liked the aesthetics to that and everything. Looks like a professional looking book. I want that one. I mean, there's so many. Also, Six Gun Gorilla, I think he's in the process of shipping that right now, I believe.
I think so. I think that was the latest update.
Yeah, so that's one I'm stoked about. A lot of people loved it already that have read it. Talking to Brian, he's just a really cool guy too, really nice guy. So I'm looking forward to his book. Next Cyberfrog book. I backed so many books that I kind of lose track. I've got to go back and look and see which ones I'm waiting for. It's crazy, man. It's a lot of books.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great year.
I agree. Monster MD too. That's another one.
I have to say, speaking of learning things from people, I think your buddy Von Klaus is definitely anyone who wants to get into the business should look up. I fear that what the lessons they take from what he's doing is just his personality. He's very outgoing and whatnot, but I think there's a lot more intention and design in what he's doing behind it. Because I have to say, when I first heard about it, there wasn't really anything that interested me. It's like another monster story. I generally don't like the more manga style art. But then he started showing the pages, and I realized, like, oh my God, I think this is the best design project I've seen. I used to teach design courses, and if I were still doing that, I would hound him every single day until he would sell me or give me a copy without the word bubbles in it, because you can 100% understand everything you need to understand just by the art. I forget the guy's name who's got drawing it, but it's something that's enough to make me say, to overcome initial resistance to it. And not only that, but now I'm actually interested in Heidi and the Doctor, and I want to know what's going on. Like, come on, man, let's get this book out.
He's one that he's done a great job. I almost think, like, man, how did he have such a successful campaign? It looks great, that's important, but he doesn't have a big YouTube channel. He's a funny guy, and people like to stream with him because he's personable and easy to talk to.
Sure, he adds to the show. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but beyond that, I mean, he just put together a really solid campaign. the book looks really good. Like, I'm genuinely excited to get it. And I don't know, I find this funny because I look at a bunch of the campaigns I backed, and like most of them I backed it because I like the creator, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Or I think
Yeah.
that could be interesting. We'll see when I get it, you know. But his is one that I'm like, I just really want to read it, you know. And I've read some scripts by him, and so that's part of the reason too, is he's a really good writer. He's solid. So that you know, that obviously helps.
Yeah, I mean, I have not yet read anything he's written, but um, just he does a fantastic job going on to all these different shows. He's someone kind of like you who almost seems like he never says no, and
Yeah.
you know he's just and like almost every day. And I think that's kind of the work ethic that up and comers should really take from this is you got to be pushing that book all the time. And one other thing that I've noticed a lot of people do poorly is once their campaign closes, they just disappear.
Yeah.
You know, but his, I mean, I've noticed he's making money all the time while it's in demand, you know, and that's because he's always pushing it and he's always showing new art.
Yeah. I would be interested to like, he'd be one, like, because I have him on the show so much, but I'd love to interview him and just ask marketing, because I know he
Uh-huh.
does, like, he's on forums, like horror forums and things like
Mhm.
that online. He's talking to people. He utilizes Twitter probably better than anybody I know in like a productive sell books way. I suck at that. You know, it can be good for networking, but most of the time I'm just like, I'm losing backers. I'm just gaining enemies on Twitter, you know. But yeah, he's done all that without having the channel. And then part of me, I'm a little envious because he doesn't have to do like the nightly video, you know. Like me doing a video every night, that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I always
So
wonder how you do it.
I don't know. It can't go on forever. Like, I know that this year it's going to decide a lot for me. Like, and that's why I'm like, I'm pushing it. We're going to go big, but if I can, like, I got to get rid of one of the other two jobs. But what I'd love is to be able to do a video every morning, you know, see what's on
Mhm.
the news, see what's going on, make the video in the morning, post it around, you know, noon or something like that. And, you know, just move on with my day. That'd be awesome. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to push for it as hard as I can this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Would be great.
Well, Downcast, Rise and Fall. Let's see. Did we increase any? I'm sure all the watchers, the hundreds who will watch this afterwards, I'm sure they'll all go and back it. But it is definitely something that you should do. And if you haven't gotten the first one, definitely get the first one with it. Great gift. I think this is going to be a classic. It's something that's awesome to share with the family. Awesome if you're just getting into comics. And I do like that it's sort of more, a little bit sci-fi-ish. We don't see as much of that. Or if we do, it's for some reason all in the superhero genre.
Mhm.
So great book, unique positioning, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And it's important too. Like, to me, this is uh, it's a landmark book for me, obviously, but I think for a lot of people, I mean, it got picked up by Alterna Comics,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big deal. And I think the bigness of that deal, if I can word it that way, is going to be more apparent as the months come on, when the thing's out in bookstores. So yeah, I think it's you know, it's important. Um, and yeah, I want to make something that's memorable. So and this is great too. You like the book? It has the secret history of Strata in it. You got everything. Like, this is the absolute edition you're getting first.
Absolutely. And maybe in a couple years, after following in your footsteps, we'll see a lot more CG originating books in actual comic stores. And I'm wondering what that will do when all of a sudden you have quality books versus the non-quality books of the big two.
Mhm. Yeah, I think like the sooner you act like part of the industry, the sooner the industry accepts you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like, the nice thing is Zach is the last thing I'll say. Zach is, there's a lawsuit going on, and that lawsuit is really expensive. And I know it's costing him a lot of grief to go through it. But because of that, even though the judge hasn't ruled on anything, it has made it safe enough for somebody like me to go and get published without I haven't heard a word from Twitter activists, nothing, no comic pros that I know of have called the publisher. Nothing has happened. And, like I can't ignore the fact that he's going through that lawsuit to make it safe enough to have an opinion and also to get your book published. So,
yeah, I mean, Zach has sort of become the Howard Hughes of Comicsgate, sort of a recluse, but definitely everybody who wants to do independent books and do your own thing owes him a big debt of gratitude.
Yeah, and use it. Like, go, like, you want to get published into comic shops, if that's your goal, do it. Or like get it out there, work toward it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you on any longer. I'm sure the missus is waiting. So, Clint, thank you very much for coming on the second time.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's always good to talk to you. I'll have to have you on my stream sometime. That would be fun.
I'd love to, man.
Yeah, that would be good. Maybe we'll do it, you, and we'll get Drawn Talk on too, because I want to talk to him. Yeah, that would be fun. We'll do it.
That'd be awesome.
For sure.
All right. So everyone, signing out. If you haven't seen Downcast Wrize Fall, go check it out. Go buy it. Check out Clint on his own channel, Sweetcast, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, everyone.